and gentlemen, I am Kadene Chambers, and welcome back to another BTS Live Loss and Grief Gems. Yes, I am still smiling, and I did say that we're talking about loss and grief. And this month, we have been talking about the feelings of loss and grief that's associated with retiring. Many people don't think about grief and loss when they think about retirement. But listen, it is exactly that. When you identify as being a particular person with a particular title and particular tasks that you do and places that you usually are and people that you're usually around, when that comes to an end, you got to find yourself, because you're no longer, listen, we identify with what we do every day, you know. And who has been taking us through this journey? My wonderful friend, Yvonne Pubien. Yvonne, thank you so much for being here again and giving me all this time.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. So we dived into just how unexpected it was for you, the emotions and the mental challenge that you had to deal with after going into retirement, and just how unprepared you were for it. We also talked about what you used to cope and to get on the other side of it, and that you were in that space for months.
Yeah.
Right? So you had to counter that feeling of, or those feelings of worthlessness or lacking in worth and identity, and not knowing, you know, what am I going to do now, with reminders that, tell me again what you said, God says we are
made in His images. We are beautifully and wonderfully made. We're His.
Right. You know, and that's what she had to remind herself daily, to counter the voices in her head that made her feel like she was losing her mind. Right. And so she did that hard work. And I kept saying in the previous episodes that it's only because Yvonne is as self-aware as she is why she was able to do that work and come out. Because for other people, if you're not really self-aware, you need additional assistance. You need therapy, you need counseling, yes, to get you through it. Because you have people who give up at that point, and that's when a lot of them die by suicide, you know, and or really spiral into severe depression.
Yeah.
Right. So I am happy that Yvonne went through her dark night of the soul, and I'm grateful that she's sharing her experience with us, or has been sharing her experience with us, to better prepare me for for retiring, and also you, so that it gives you reason to pause, to think about something that you probably hadn't thought about before. Because I've been telling you since we've started this loss and grief series that loss and grief and the feelings that come with it, the mourning, you know, isn't just about the death of a loved one. It is about, yes, the death of loved ones. It's about the demise or death of significant relationships. So if you've been in a relationship with somebody who is important to you and the relationship ends, whether we're talking about your romantic relationships, whether or not you were married, there's loss and grief. If your relationship was with a family member or friend and it came to an end, listen, we grieve those relationships as well. You understand me? You and your best friend can break up, you know, and it hurts, right? And we also have feelings of loss and grief as it relates to, let's talk about losing our material things. So if you ever, or you know anyone who's ever experienced a natural disaster, you know, a hurricane, a tornado, a storm, or earthquake, and they've lost everything, a fire. Listen, you wouldn't even process before, you know, how attached or how much you identified with the things that you have. And we're not even talking about in an unhealthy way, you know. Think about losing every single photograph that you had of your loved ones. Think about losing any kind of keepsake that you've been holding on to for years, your baby's first boots. Think about the property and things that you have for loved ones who died. And when you lose those things, you feel like a piece of you is gone. Right? So I've been telling you all that loss and grief is not only about the death of a loved one, and then changes in your health. When persons become ill and they lose their good health, that triggers feelings of loss and grief. And of course, retirement, anything that makes you feel like you've lost something significant triggers feelings of loss and grief. And so we've been talking, of course, about retirement. And for this week's gem, the question that we're exploring with Yvonne is, Yvonne, do you think that people need support as they retire? And if you do, what kind of support, from whom?
So yes, you definitely need support. You need the support as you get ready to transition. It would be nice if things were in place to start gearing you up for what's next. And even you taking some time to look back on the things that you did love about your job, jotting down that self-awareness that you're talking about, being aware of certain dynamics that may have made you happy with your job and stuff, and seeing if there's a connect still there for something else. Maybe your next journey, that connection is still there. And I would say even connecting with old friend or a good friend, or just somebody who can maybe go and have breakfast with you so you can talk through these things. Or
is this before you retire or just as you retire? Or
I would say as you're transitioning into it, start doing those things and start putting things in place in your mind as to what you might want to do in your next journey. Start figuring out who you are
before you pull the trigger.
Yeah, before you actually do. Start doing some self-actualization of who am I and what do I like, and some of the things you say you were going to do. Like I said, I'm going to go to the beach every morning. I think I went to the beach one morning.
Oh man!
Right. So I had convinced myself that every morning I was going to go to the beach.
Yes. That didn't happen.
Still ain't happening. So we tell ourselves things that we think in the moment.
Yes.
That's what we really want, until the transition happened and you realize, I didn't even want that. So.
And as you're talking, there's an idea that came to me, and I know that some people, I guess, do it like this, and I don't think it's a bad idea. You're like, what? When we know that we're getting ready to retire, instead of, if you have the option to not just quit cold turkey, to just say, okay, right now this is the cutoff, to start easing back instead. So if a year out or 6 months out, you start taking lighter shifts, more vacation or personal days, if you have that option,
right?
So you aren't immersed in work continuously, because what that would encourage you to do is to start finding yourself and finding other things to do with yourself. So when you get to that place where you are now retired, right, it wouldn't be like, oh my God, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Because the more you step outside of the work zone, you're connecting with new people. You would have had that time to start building a different network, because that's a part of the problem,
Yeah.
When you go to work every day, you have a network there. Even if they're not your friends that you're not going out with, they're still people who you're interacting with every day. And because our jobs take up so much of our time, more often than not, we don't have a lot of time left to go have a second network out there. You understand? So even if you have a family that you are living with, because not everybody lives with other people, then the only person or people that you might have are the people in your house, right? And if they're still working, it means that you're gonna have to find things to do with yourself. So that could actually be a good thing to do. So you ease yourself into retirement, right? And as it relates to the kind of support, I really do think, I think we mentioned it in probably Gem 1, that if the larger companies that have the budget and can afford it and can make it happen, should really put something in place to have professionals on contract, if not on staff, to help ease you and to prepare you for what is potentially going to happen. We need to have more conversations about what happens when we're going into retirement. Listen, any life change, any major life change triggers stress. Listen, when you are a new parent, I guarantee you there are stress.
Yep. Anxiety.
There is. And me saying that doesn't mean that you weren't ready for the baby. Because we're talking about even if you're married and you planned for the baby and worked for the baby and all of that. When the baby is in the house now, your whole world has changed.
Yes.
Everything. And nothing prepares you for the change until you are in it.
Yeah.
It's like that with retirement. So even if you were planning and you are ready, there is still some adjustment, right? And then for other people, they weren't ready. And I know that's even more difficult. Because it's one thing when you are ready and when the voices come for you to tell yourself, I was ready, I've been ready. It's easier to counteract those voices at that time because it was your decision.
Right.
But when retirement feels like it was forced upon you.
So I've seen that.
You've seen that?
I've seen that. We had one officer, I won't mention his name, but we did have an officer due to health reasons. I mean, he was an outstanding officer. For whatever reason, health reasons, some things happened, and he became unfit for duty. And the department made a decision. He wanted to come back to work. The department made a decision that he wasn't fit to come back to work. He killed himself.
What? Oh, Lord.
Yeah, so exactly what you said, that it's one thing to transition when you're looking forward to it and then you still do these struggles. I look back and I think about him, and this was his life. He was a cop's cop. He brought every toy to fix up his car. He was a policeman's policeman. That's all. And yeah.
I am so sorry to hear.
Months, yeah.
So months after he left.
Yeah.
Oh man.
He committed suicide.
Yeah, and yeah. I cannot imagine, because if you were ready and you had the support of your husband, right? And you struggled as much as you did. I cannot imagine how someone feels who was forced into retirement for whatever reasons, whether it was health issues. Sometimes there are issues with people in the dynamic with the people in the workplace, and and so again, we're wrapping up this month's discussion for BTS Live Loss and Grief, and I'm reminding you, be gentle to yourself, be kind, be empathetic. If you are the one who is about to retire or recently retired, and if you realize that you're struggling too much, I am telling you right here, right now,
reach out, get a support system.
Figure something out, get some help, right? And I know I have some information. Let me see if I can quickly put my finger on it, because it's important that I share that. Oh, you know what? Even if I don't find it right now, I am going to put it up on screen for you, because if you are struggling with thoughts of suicide, I know that NAMI can help. Here we go, because I know I have it. So if you have thoughts of suicide, I'm asking you to contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline here in the US, 1-800-273-8255. Right. They will help you work through or find support to walk you through what's going on, and to make sure that you stay here with us. And remember, your feelings, your worth is not tied up in anything external to you. You don't need to prove a thing to a soul. You don't need a title. You don't need a job. You don't need a particular career. You don't need to live in a particular place. You don't need to move around particular people. You don't need to do a thing other than just be. You are worthy just as you are, and I love you. I love you. And if you want to reach out, you can always find Via Productions at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Via Productions 1. That's BIAPRODUCTIONS and the number 1. And that's where we are on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're also on LinkedIn, Via Productions. That's with a B. So it sounds like V. And also our website, viaproductions.com. Right? Just check out the contact us page, and send me a note. I promise you, I will reach out to you because, and help you. If I need to point you to other resources, just in case you aren't in the US, if you're somewhere in the Caribbean, you're watching us, if you're in Jamaica or any other Caribbean island, I will help you find that resource. And a quick Google search, regardless of where you are, every country typically has a national support line or agency to help you, right? As you deal with depression or major stress and anxiety and definitely suicidal thoughts, because we want you to stay with us and we want you to feel healthy and be healthy. And this is also why we're doing this BTS Live Loss and Grief series, because we don't talk enough about loss and grief and the feelings, the emotions, the challenges that come with them and how to overcome them. So when I shared about my loss and I shared about my journey, it's about helping you. When I invite Yvonne to share about her experience with the stress and just the mental anguish of dealing with retiring, like shocking, and going through her dark night of the soul, and she really just brought us in and be able to say to us, listen, I felt like I was going crazy. I appreciate her for saying that. So if you are experiencing that, you know that you're not alone. It's not about you. Nothing is wrong with you. And if you know somebody who is experiencing that and suggesting that, that you will be kind, Yeah. So that's it for this month's loss and grief, where we've been looking at retirement, and we have been talking to Yvonne Pubien. And just before we go, I am going to allow Yvonne to tell you where to find her wonderful art studio, Nailed It DIY Studio, Fort Lauderdale. So the address, yes. The phone number, yes. Definitely how to find you on social media.
Okay, so you can find us at 5139 North University Drive, Lauderhill, Florida. Yes, Lauderhill. Website, Nailed It DIY Studio, Fort Lauderdale. Check out our Instagram, our Facebook. Phone number, 561-809-7850.
And your Instagram and thing is Nailed It DIY Studio, Fort Lauderdale.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So you see, I guarantee you, if you're nearby, call her, check out the website, make a booking. I guarantee you will not regret it. This is one of those things that she's now doing and thriving in after going through her dark night of the soul, battling with retirement.
And this is my peace, my peaceful. It's amazing because this is therapeutic for me also.
For me, listen.
Just sitting here painting, listening to music and stuff. So yeah.
She found herself beautifully. Can I tell you? So this is the upside after the dark night of the soul, that she survived. And she isn't just surviving. She is now thriving. Yvonne, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kadene.
Ladies and gentlemen, catch you next month for another wonderful guest on BTS Live Loss and Grief. Walk good.